I love this.
I love it too. Hello.
How are you doing? Good.
Welcome to Johannesburg. Can't wait to take you to Soweto.
Yeah. How's things your side?
Things are good. Busy as well. So there's Explore Soweto.
How did you get into the market? How did that all start?
So it started with Explore Soweto. So I used to write for a couple of publications, and then my sister was like, so why don't you just write about Soweto? Why don't you? Because there's so many businesses that a lot of us don't know about. And I thought, okay, this is really cool. This is something I'm up to and I have a passion for. So I started interviewing business owners and just putting up on my website and Instagram pages. And then I discovered TikTok. And I was like, this is amazing.
The timing of like when you started the markets couldn't have been better. Like everyone was like desperate to like just, you know, be involved in something new and fresh and get out.
The acceleration of like the fiber infrastructure in Soweto was just like out of this world. So
I can imagine,
because everybody was working from home at that time, like Explore Soweto made so much sense because number one, people were spending time at home or within the neighborhoods, and now they had access, unlimited access to the internet. So Jimmy, this is my church. This is my family church. It's called Africa Evangelical Church, AEC.
AEC.
Yes.
Yeah.
So this is where I grew up. I was dedicated here.
It's a beautiful church.
Thank you.
I couldn't help but notice the seats in this church. I mean, they look like the most comfortable. It's like business class here.
Yeah, I know.
What was it like growing up in this beautiful space?
It's like home. Every mom is my mom. Every father is my father. I mean, we've been through so much as like a church community, and it's more than just a church on a Sunday.
I come from a space very similar. Growing up in Athlone, like my dad was a pastor. Wherever I go in life, I'll always remember my experience in my church because it was just, you know, it was that personal all the time.
Yeah, and also I think the values that you learn in church are so, like they're so like fundamental in how you carry yourself as a person and as an adult in every area of your life.
That's the thing about impact, is that you don't recognize it when you're in it. You know, it takes some time until you can see, you know, how something has really shaped your life.
Also with like COVID isolated us so much, but like with our church communities, even though we weren't able to physically be with each other, but we were still able to connect with each other via social media, via WhatsApp, and like it just helps you to feel like, you know what, the world may be going crazy, and I may be physically alone, but I'm actually not alone because there are people who are surrounding me, and I do have a community that I can lean on at any time.
Absolutely.
Yeah. This is the first school that Vumatel connected fiber to.
Well, let's go inside. I look at fiber today and what it's one of the biggest necessities. It's a basic need, essentially.
It's basically like a library. I mean, like without a library, you can't really say it's a school. You can't really call something a school. So
they've supplied to over 670 different schools.
It's life-changing to have fiber, and it gives children access to information and resources that they otherwise wouldn't have without the fiber.
I know Vuma has partnered up with iSchool Africa to kind of bridge this gap. And I think it's amazing. If you look around, they've provided iPads and have basically created these digital libraries that allow students to engage with technology and education in such an informative way.
Yeah, and I mean, they also have access to opportunities that they might not have had access to without the fiber, and also just resources and knowledge.
I look at these students and I think, what a great way to also just encourage independent learning, you know? So what do you think is the importance of, you know, creating better access and giving learners from traditionally underserved communities access to digital platforms and fiber.
It levels the playing field. I mean, it gives them an opportunity to compete with kids who have more resources or kids who are from private schools.
Even when you need help with a project or something, and I think that's a lot of pressure sometimes on parents in an ever-growing and changing society. And now you have access to Google, you have access to other different educational platforms. So if you need help with that volcano project or building a solar system or, there's certain things that, I think are just going to be invaluable in really almost just providing better context in learning.
7, 6, 4, wanna to this go. Come to you, back is the smile to go. Get to the bottom, to just stop the bottom, oh, 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 you know where we go. This is who we are. Money is down, shout out every year. You know where we go. This is who we are.
I am very excited to show you my grandfather's shop. So let's go there.
Let's do it.
So Jimmy, this is a very special part of the Buthelezi family. This is where my grandfather and my grandmother started their first shop. My grandparents started this shop in a very difficult time. Obviously, it was during apartheid. It was the late 1950s, 1960s. And, against all odds, they built something that they were very proud of that served the community. And when I think about the challenges that I face as an entrepreneur, especially with load shedding, and in Soweto, sometimes there are protests. And a couple of years ago, there was looting that affected so many businesses that I'm connected to. I think about my grandparents and how, they overcame such insurmountable challenges. And I think if they could do it with the limited resources that they had, I can do so much more because I have access to so much more. So I'd like to show you some pictures from the store and where it all started. So this is in the early 60s. So there was a meat market and a grocery store. And that over there is my grandmother.
Wow.
Yeah.
You can see all the ladies and the kids playing outside.
And then this is my dad. And they also sold vegetables as well. And you can see that it was the early stages of the store and they didn't really have much furniture. And then they sold, we call them amaguinya in Soweto, and those are fat cooks. That's my grandmother's fat cook machine there.
Nice.
And then this is outside the shop again, and this is my grandfather's first car.
Wow.
I was very proud of this car.
I can't imagine starting a business like that today without fiber, without connectivity, without social media. I mean, just imagine how hard it was, Think of, Vuma and what they're trying to do with My Community Connects and that platform. And it's really about encouraging entrepreneurs, encouraging visionaries, people who have big ideas to think outside the box, to use the tools that are on their phone, the tools that are connected to the internet on their fiber, and to engage on the online world and use it to your benefit,
Jimmy, did you know that you could have sushi in Soweto?
Listen, I didn't, but I'm very excited because I love sushi.
Well, that's awesome. Let's head over to Meadowlands and in the Sopeng, and we can have some sushi there. So in terms of heritage and food, what is your favorite food from your culture and your heritage?
So, I'm from Cape Town.
Yes.
Food and faith and family are very interlinked.
Yes.
We love a lot of good curries, stews. When I think about my mom and I think about the way we grew up, a celebration is there with good food. If you've done something well, then here you go.
Yes. Food in my culture as well. It's always... our culture, you can't come to somebody's house and not leave without having something. The hospitality speaks to who we are as Sowetans. We are very hospitable people.
So the power of connection has brought the three of us here today.
Yes.
And I know that you guys know each other.
Yes, we do.
Yeah,
we do.
course.
Yeah.
But this is the first time we're meeting in person.
In person, okay.
Yes, so we've connected.
And
so I was very excited to find Johnito's because there isn't a sushi joint in Soweto.
Yeah.
And like my audience also loved the content that I put up of Johnito's
definitely.
because they were like, oh my gosh, finally a sushi place that
there's a sushi
we
bar in
can,
Yeah.
that is in proximity to us.
So unique, man. And I just tasted it. It was amazing.
Yeah, I'm
it
glad
was
that you
so
enjoyed
good.
it.
No, really.
That's how the former MCC as well. That's how it also helped because so many people didn't understand what sushi is all about. And then Vuma came in and then they broadened up the scheme.
So speaking of Vuma, how did you get involved with the My Community Connects campaign?
I joined the MCC on the internet. So I just saw an advert of Vomatel MCC. So I just went on their website and then I just registered there myself as a talent.
That's amazing. I love that you have your own spin. You know, I think that's what makes you so unique.
Yeah.
And have you seen like an impact since being with, you know?
Damn, man, there's been so much impact. I think Lindo will tell you as well that there's been so much difference.
Yeah.
Because after Voma picked me as one of their faces, I must say that so much has changed. I mean, I was able to get TV interviews, radio interviews, newspaper articles were written about my business, and then a lot of people were shocked that, wow, there's sushi in Soweto. We didn't know, but through that marketing exposure and through that connectivity, I mean, it has made so much impact. So many customers have came to me and they told me that, you know what, we didn't know that you exist, but because Voma gave you the platform to put your business out there, here you are.
So Jimmy, you finally made it onto Soweto's most iconic street, Vilakazi Street.
What a vibe.
It is, right?
It's lit out here.
Yeah, and every day. Also, Vilakazi Street is known as like the food hub of Orlando West. There are multiple restaurants down the street with offering different cuisines, and there are bars, and there are lots of art spaces. There are lots of places like this where artists can express themselves.
Yeah.
So I'm really looking forward to you exploring it and seeing Vilakazi Street.
So what do you think connectivity means for the businesses around you?
So in terms of the Vuma My Community Connects program, it means that business owners, big and small, from the spaza shops to the big restaurants and the fashion stores, they have access to documents that could help them starting businesses like invoice templates and contracts and stuff, so that can really help them get started in their businesses. And
100%.
also with like resources to teach them how to manage their social media platforms or grow or...
So like pointers and tips from professionals.
From professionals, yeah.
This street is amazing. There's so much culture, there's so much life. This whole day has been so awesome. It's been great.
So I am glad that you were able to share it with me.
Yes.
So Jimmy, this is Maponya Mall. This is Soweto's first mega mall. It was built in 2007.
Yeah.
And it's also the place where I covered my first event for Explore Soweto. So it really has significance in my community because it's in Pimville.
Yeah.
And also in my business as well, because this is where Explore Soweto basically started.
I think the whole thing about community is that like you can almost feel people cheer you on.
Yeah.
And so it's like when one person says like more life, it's like yeah, more life, you know, like.
So out of 10, what would you rate your day? How would you rate your day?
I'm gonna give it a solid 100 out of 10.
100.
Yeah.
Okay, you definitely beat me. I was thinking 11, but 100 works.
Nah, you know, I think it was just filled with so many different like emotions. Like, I mean, it was fun overall, but I think it's just so dope. I mean, we just met today.
Yes.
I think hearing your stories, getting to see like a part of your heritage and coming to Soweto, it was just such a beautiful, enriching day, and I feel so blessed. Right now, I mean, it's been a long day, but I have so much energy right now.
Yes, me too.
You know? And how about you?
I think it was so much more than what I imagined it to be.
Yeah.
And it's so nice that it started off in my element and it ended off in your element. And I love being in this space and seeing you like mix and do all the things that you do.
Yeah.
It's really, really cool and such a privilege because not a lot of people get to experience this.
Nah, listen, I feel like your rap album is coming out.
It's Jimmy playing games.
No, but I think it was also just so dope. I think doing this with Vuma, and again how, you know, it's they connecting people not only online but like in real life.
Yes.
And you get to make these connections and you get to learn so much more about people and getting to see like how amazing and how impactful, you know, the Vuma's influence is on the learners. Even getting to sing at your church or the church that you grew up in was also so nice. It immediately took me back to the way I grew up.
Yeah.
So in a sense, I feel like I was time traveling today in some part. Ending up in the studio, I think is so cool. And we're putting this jingle together and getting your input, but also just trying to use inspiration from this day has been so dope. And I hope that the track expresses that and that the vibrant energy of Soweto lives on in the beat.
Yeah, I'm sure it will. Definitely. Yeah. Thank you, Jimmy.
Thank you. It was so amazing. Thank you so much.
It's been amazing.
More time together. Connected forever. Elevate.